Hi everybody, John Semankiewicz with Beer Law Center, and today I want to talk to you about what happens or what you should do if you receive an ABC violation. Pardon me, just working on one of my favorite IPAs today. All right, so let's say an ALE officer comes in to your place of business, finds a violation, say in terms of records or maybe a bartender sold a beverage to an underage individual, whatever. You've now got an ABC violation, and if you saw the last video, you'll also know you'll receive a criminal citation. All right, so now what do? Well, first let me point out that the criminal citation starts a very defined calendar. And it's typically like your court date is within 30 days, maybe 60 days at the outside, from when the citation happened to when you have to be in court. At the same time, the ABC works on a little bit different timeline. That could take 2 or 3 months before they get back to you with an offer in compromise. So, first thing is, after you hire, say, a good lawyer that has experience with this, after that, the lawyer will go to court for you and say, hey, my client has received an ABC violation. We're still working this out with the ABC. Can we continue this case until the ABC makes their determination? And I've done dozens of these over the years. I've never had a district attorney say, no, we won't continue it. So I would expect they'll continue it to the next court date, maybe even give you a couple of months out, because again, this is both criminal and an administrative procedure. They understand how these things work and generally are just concerned that somebody's going to face consequences, not that this citation has to result in a conviction. So again, they're going to continue that or push that court date out as far probably as they can, and then we're going to wait for the ABC to return an offer in compromise. Offer in compromise I explained in the last video. Go back and watch that if you haven't. When you get that offer in compromise, this is when I typically have gotten several calls. In fact, I've gotten 3 calls in the last month at this stage where they've received an offer in compromise and call me and say, what can I do? Well, again, you've only got 2 basic options. You can fight it or you can accept the offer in compromise. If you accept the offer in compromise, you're admitting guilt, so that's not great, but you're admitting guilt, it's gonna go in your permanent file with the ABC, and you're gonna face a fine. The fines are set by statute. If you commit this kind of violation, you get this kind of fine. If you commit that kind of violation, you get that kind of fine. So there's not a lot of discretion on what kind of fine it is or how much it is. Although if you repeat offend, it tends to escalate each time. So for a first-time offense on a very minor issue, say record keeping, this is going to be a pretty minor violation. I believe the first-time offender in that category is something like $500. Well, okay, so it's $500 if you pay the fine. Now, your other option with that offer in compromise is to fight it. I want a hearing, I want to go in front of an administrative law judge, and I want to prove that I did nothing wrong. That's what you're trying to do. You're not trying to plea bargain. You're not trying to get a better deal by going in front of that administrative law judge, that ALJ. You have to prove that you didn't do it or that it didn't happen. And that can be pretty tough. But let's say, for argument's sake, that you can prove that it wasn't our bartender, they issued it to the wrong person, whatever. Great, then you are acquitted. The administrative law judge will dismiss it. There is no fine. It doesn't go in your record. Everything's great. In the last 15 years, I have never seen that happen. So, the other alternative is you lose. You don't get acquitted on this, that it is not dismissed. The ALJ has to find a penalty or a punishment. And the ABC in that offer in compromise has already said, if you make us go to a hearing, we're going to ask for the maximum penalty. And that penalty is generally going to be that same fine they offered you, but now it's also going to include a suspension of your license. That's where it starts breaking down to, okay, what's it worth to you? So, generally speaking, that $500 fine is probably going to come with a 2 to 5 day suspension of your permit. If you're not covering $500 in a weekend, which may be your suspended permit, you're not running a great business anyway. You probably ought to get out of the alcohol side entirely. Most of the time my clients say, well, I'd rather keep my permit and pay the $500. because I'll make more than that $500 in that one weekend or over those few days just by staying open. And that's kind of the calculus that has to go on, because if you lose, you're going to lose you're going to lose time. You're going to lose open time and being able to sell your products. Here's the other issue. If you have a lawyer try and fight at that hearing for you, you're going to pay legal fees. You're going to pay a lawyer to do that. Most of the time, that's going to be more expensive than your fine. So you may not want to do that unless you're talking about, it's our last ditch effort to try and save our permit. Otherwise, it's going to get revoked entirely, right? So again, it's cost benefit. Is it easier to just pay the fine and move on? Or is it worth investing $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 or more to fight in a hearing that there's a good likelihood you're going to lose? And here's where the again, cost benefit and risk assessment works. In those administrative law judge hearings, they're going to listen to the testimony provided or the evidence provided by the ABC and any evidence that you provide. The ABC is going to come with an officer that has a report of what they saw or what they found. They may come with documents proving what they found, like in record-keeping issues. And they may even have other witnesses, like if they set up a sting to catch somebody. They can bring in a witness that was underage and went in to ask for a beverage. They're going to bring in some substantial evidence. Unless you've got even better evidence, it's going to be very hard to win that. And in general, I think that's very difficult to do. It has to come down to, well, the officer thought they saw this, and we can prove that that wasn't the case. Or it looked like this, but it wasn't. For example, if two young people came up to the bar and you didn't serve one of them and you did serve the other, and one of them was underage, and the ALE said, oh, they served that underage person, and you had video proving that you checked ID and the other person was overage, the one you served was overage, they just happened to look alike and the officer thought it was the other one, okay, you've probably got good evidence, but it's going to be hard to do. So most of the time, I counsel clients, go to the ABC, and talk to the lawyer in charge, because you're offering compromise, will have a lawyer's name on it, talk to that lawyer, ask what else you can do. Always offer to retrain your staff. And the the ABC will even come out and do training for you for free. They'll train your staff and give you a list of attendees, something you can turn back into the ABC and say, see, look, your people retrained our staff on this. Training, I'm trying to think of other things you could do, but there may be ways to ameliorate the consequences. Talk with that attorney. That is your only chance to reduce the potential consequences other than trying to fight it in a hearing. Most of the time for my clients, the answer is almost always, don't fight it in a hearing. That's going to cost you more money and give you a larger risk. Pay the fine, move on, and make sure it doesn't happen again. Because again, if they see repeat issues, the fines are going to get worse, and eventually they will just not allow you to have a permit anymore. So, a couple of different things to think about, but that's generally my advice to a lot of my clients when these sort of things come up. If you've got any questions, give us a call. We'd be happy to talk to you about it. In the meantime, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.